in 2009, there wouldn't be people outside the hotel. There wouldn't be, you know, people waiting outside the venue really. And this started to like change and ramp up to the point where like by 2012, I couldn't walk outside the hotel without people screaming my name. And there would be barricades
Wow.
outside the hotel with like, you know, hundreds of people. And, you know, I could go in a car ride a couple miles away to go somewhere, and the people would come up to me and ask me for photos and autographs. So it's like you're still in this little bubble and everything outside is changing, but like you don't see it. It's not like we're seeing tabloid magazines or we're like watching E or TMZ or seeing what this perception is that's shifting. But it's like one day you wake up and you're like, whoa, we're in Rio and there are like 10,000 people outside who scream every time we like move our blinds. It's just,
wow.
It's weird, but it's cool
Really
and it's
point.
awesome. But it's also like, nothing prepares you for as things change. It's just like, it all happens and then it just keeps happening.
And as you're saying that though, it kind of like makes sense though. It's almost like everybody on that team, you, Gaga, everybody else, like worked their asses off, I feel like, right? So like when you work your asses off consistently, it's almost like, of course this could happen, right? It's like, it's just like, it's like the natural progression of something, but you make an interesting point of like having like not a three-dimensional view of it, having like a one-dimensional view of that growth. I like how you said that. It's good.
Yeah, it's like you know it's happening, but then because like your shows are getting extended and like this is doing really well. And so like we're adding another year and a half on. So it's like but at the same time you're only really focused on like morning until night and then the next day and the next day. And then it's like all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, we have, 3 security people with us all the time. And, things are different, but they just kind of happened.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And did you notice like, you don't have to name names, but like, did you notice as things were like getting there on the outside, were people's egos on the team? Cause I assume the team was pretty big, right? Were people changing on the team? Some people?
No.
Or did everybody stay pretty grounded, like more or less?
Yeah,
throughout
I think that, for the most part, the people that like the fans really latched onto were like me, Freddie, of course, Gaga, and like her choreographers and stylists and stuff. But that some of that came later. They didn't, and like some security guards and stuff because they're like hunky. But, and they're like a very intense fan base. So they do like find out everything about everyone.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was doing some on the board. I'm like, wow.
So like suddenly I'd see like, baby photos of me I haven't seen since I was a kid. And I'd be like, where did you get these? I'm like, oh, my dad's Facebook page or something, But
yeah, it's wild.
I think because people who were there all day, every day had the same experience as me, where it's like, there's no time to get caught up in anything because you're so busy. So it's
you just have your head down going basically. So
because you're working all day, every day. So it's like, where would you have the time to be like, oh, like and you're always next to someone who's now the biggest star in the world. So like you're never thinking like, oh, I'm super dope. You're just like, and your job as like a makeup artist or like a hair person is like to make sure that this person is always fabulous and gorgeous and constantly doing touch-ups. And so focus is always like outward, and like if it's ever inward, it's like, oh no, I did a terrible job on that.
No. I have seen people switch up though on the team when they're artists or whatever, somebody on the team. Oh, because they want you know what I'm trying to say? They want to ride the coattails. They want to be that. So it's funny. One of my first times being in LA, and I'm not really a film person.
Yeah.
I'm a music person. And I remember being at like this hotel called the Chateau
Yeah, we
Marmont.
used to stay there a lot.
Exactly. So I was meeting like a up and coming musician there, and he happened to be at the table. I didn't know this guy, with two people, and a guy and a girl. And like after an hour at the table, the girl leaves, and I'm like new to LA, and I'm like, man, it must be so hard for celebrities in LA with the paparazzi always, you know, bothering them and flashing cameras and stuff. And he's like, yeah, you know, my sister just left the table. She deals with that all the time. And I didn't recognize her as a celebrity. Turned out it was Keira Knightley, the actress. Yeah, but what the funny thing was is like he was mad at me for not knowing
who she
she was. Yeah, he legitimately was like, "Did you grow up under a rock?" Like he was like mad about it. And I'm just thinking that, you know, because it's like, well, maybe it's because it's family or whatever. But there are people whose egos get big just being around, you know, a successful
I think
artist.
with us, it almost had like the opposite effect in a way, because suddenly you have, if you go on social media, and we also had, she created this app called littlemonsters.com. So we were encouraged to like interact with the fans on a daily basis in these chat rooms and like post on there. And we like had people we'd send our things to post when we didn't have time. So it was like just for fans. Sorry, this turns off. If anything, it made it so that like any work that you did, so like let's say we did her hair and makeup for her to walk outside, or it's a touch up after the show for a meet and greet, or we go to a restaurant or a bar or a club and photos are taken of her by fans or by paparazzi like at 3 a.m. after partying and dancing. And like I always had a purse with touch up stuff in it. So no matter what time it was, I was like making sure she looked fresh and perfect.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know, you have all these people all over the world who are so into her and so focused. And now when they know who you are, then if you have, you know, any time where they don't like what you did or have an opinion on it, they're extremely vocal and extremely critical. And so before when we were like, nobody knew who we were and nobody cared, like nobody had like everybody was like, oh, she's the one with the crazy wigs and makeup. But no one really thought about the fact that there was people behind that. And so
totally.
Then it's like if they thought something was too crazy or they didn't like it or whatever, they were just like, oh, she's so wild. But suddenly they had like people to like aim their opinions at.